Shalom, welcome to the Jewish Task Force, J.T.F. My name is Chaim Ben Pesach, and we have another program with the great David Ben Moshe. This is going to be a truly historic program because we're beginning a new campaign to defeat Joe Biden and to elect Donald Trump in this November's presidential election. And we're going to explain what we're doing, what our strategy is, how we're going to help Trump get elected, God willing, and how we're going to defeat Joe Biden. That doesn't mean we like Donald Trump. We don't. But Biden is much worse, and we're going to explain why Biden finally pushed us to the point where we now have to take an active role in the political campaign. We'll be explaining the whole thing. It's going to be a really important and fascinating program. But first, this program is dedicated to a refuah shlema, a complete recovery for Mark Ben Sarah, Sharon Mitman, Shlomo Ben Sarah, Dorit Bat Sarah, Reuven Ben Shoshana, and Ruth Bat Sarah. And to Ilui Neshamot, elevating of the souls, for David Gutfeld, Malka Bat Meir, Allegra Bat Shlomo, Daniel Nankin, Victor Hazdai, Pesach Seh Ben Dov, Lunita Adler, Shifra Hoffman, Reuven Hoffman, Barry Hoffman, Rav Meir Kahana, Rav Binyamin Kahana, Tzipora Fegi Bat Liba, Yosef Ben Meir, Robert Mittman, Dennis Shore, Helen Friedman, and Charles Zolat. Now, of course, both Joe Biden and Donald Trump represent an American foreign policy that is bad for Israel and bad for America. They want Israel to create an independent Palestinian terrorist state in Judea, Samaria, Gaza, and Jerusalem, which would be national suicide for Israel. The Trump Middle East peace plan called for that. Biden is calling for that right now. So both of them have policies that are bad, and what that means is the only good thing for Israel is for Israel to become truly independent, for Israel to build her own weapons, which Jewish brains can easily do, for Israel to stop with the U.S. foreign aid, which doesn't help Israel. It's not aid, it hurts Israel. Israel has to spend all the money that she gets from U.S. foreign aid on buying American weapons from American multinational, they're actually not really American even, they're multinational corporations that built the jet fighters and everything else. Israel cannot develop her own weapons industry because of this and is not independent and acts like a puppet of the United States, and it's destroying Israel. So Israel has to become independent. Am levadad yishkonu vagoyim lo yitchashav. Lo, this is a nation that shall dwell alone and not be reckoned among the nations. That's what the Bible says the Jewish people are supposed to do. But anyway, why are we supporting Trump over Biden? Because Biden really is much worse. Biden just announced this week that he's imposing sanctions on 4 Jewish heroes from Judea and Samaria. He is going to war against the hilltop youth, Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden, and it's not Joe Biden himself, Joe Biden is senile. He doesn't even know where Judea and Samaria is. He doesn't know where Israel is. He doesn't know where he is. And he really is senile. How many times on the campaign trail has he forgotten who the president was when he was vice president? He couldn't remember the name of the president whom he served under for 8 years as vice president. I mean, he's completely senile. Of course, he served under Barack Hussein Osama.
Which is enough to make you senile.
Yes. So, but Biden is pursuing, Biden is a whore. He doesn't care about anything, he only cares about himself. He's pursuing these policies, not that he knows what he's doing, but he gladly supports these policies, which Antony Blinken, the self-hating Jewish Judenrat capo, is pushing. Blinken is the one who's pushing these terrible policies. And of course, these policies are also supported by the vicious anti-Semite Kamala Harris, who is married to a self-hating Jew. I mean, the whole thing is a nightmare for the Jewish people, that whole administration. And Biden now realizes, by the Biden-Blinken-Harris administration, they realize that the number one obstacle to creating a Palestinian state, the hilltop youth. The hilltop youth have dozens of hilltop communities on the most strategic hilltops throughout Judea and Samaria, and they are blocking the Arabs from creating a Palestinian terrorist state, from taking over all of Judea and Samaria, because if the hilltop youth weren't there, the Arabs would take over 97% of Judea and Samaria. Only 3% are Jewish settlements, are the established, recognized Jewish settlements. So they'd have a Palestinian state in 97% of Judea and Samaria. The hilltop youth, though, have broken out of that 3%, and have taken over dozens of strategic hilltops that block the Arabs from having a contiguous state. And by the way, when I say Palestinian state, there are no Palestinians, there is no Palestine. There has never been a Palestinian people in history or a Palestinian state in history. All of this is a lie and a propaganda device used as an excuse to destroy Israel. There are no Palestinians, they're Arabs. They're part of the huge Arab world of 500 million Arabs that surround Israel in 22 Arab countries. They don't want to say they're Arabs because then the world will say, oh, well, the Arabs versus the Jews. The Arabs outnumber the Jews 100-1, and the Arabs have more than 600 times as much land as the Jews. So why are you telling little Israel to give up the land? And Israel is clearly David and the Arabs are clearly Goliath in that battle, which is the true battle that Israel is facing. Instead, they created this phony narrative that there's a separate Palestinian people against Israel, so they're David and Israel is Goliath, and distorting all of history and distorting all of reality. There is no Palestinian people. Never was, never will be. But they do want to create a Palestinian state, even though there's no validity historically. They do want to do that to destroy Israel. And in order to do that, they've got to get the hilltop youth out of the way. The hilltop youth are the very first obstacle that stands in the way, which is why J.T.F. is the only organization outside of Israel that supports the hilltop youth. It's incredible. But anyway, Biden now has announced sanctions against 4 Israeli Jews who are heroes. They claim that the Israeli Jews are engaged in violence against the Arabs. What violence against? By the way, they didn't put any Arabs on any sanctions list. The Arab terror, there are open Arab terrorists marching around Israel. No American sanctions against them. But because of this, just to show you how much of a puppet Israel has become of the United States, Israeli banks like Bank Leumi, Israeli banks are now freezing the accounts of these Jews. 2 of the Jews now had their bank accounts frozen by Israeli banks. So Israeli banks, Biden is telling Israeli banks what to do in regard to the bank accounts of Israeli citizens. Where do you have an independent sovereign nation in a situation like that? I mean, the United States is dictating to Israeli banks what they should do with Israeli citizens? I mean, the nerve, the chutzpah.
That's what happens when you take aid. You become the slave, and the person giving you the aid is the master.
Absolutely. That's clearly what's happening here, and we cannot tolerate this. So now he's going after the hilltop youth, and that really endangers Israel in the worst way. Now, Trump was also bad. The Trump Middle East peace plan, so-called peace plan, it would be suicide for Israel, was also insane and terrible. But Trump did not impose sanctions on Israel, on Israeli citizens. He didn't go as far as Biden is going. And there's another aspect. Now, Trump and Biden are both phony politicians. They only care about themselves. Donald Trump only cares about himself, always did, always will. Never cared about America or Israel. He doesn't want to make America great. He only wants to make Trump great. He's a phony. And so is Biden. But Trump has pressure from the evangelical Christians who support Israel. And the type of Jews who support Trump are also pro-Israel Jews, unlike the type of Jews who support Biden, who are against Israel, who are self-hating Jews. So Trump has pressure. If he becomes president, he has pressures that prevent him from doing as much damage as Biden will do. But I want to make it very clear. The minute Trump does something against Israel, we'll turn on Trump in 2 seconds if he does anything against Israel. In 2 seconds, we'll turn against him. And we haven't forgotten his so-called peace plan, which would have been suicide for Israel. We haven't forgotten how he pressured Netanyahu to freeze Jewish building in Judea and Samaria. And we haven't forgotten his good friends, the Nazis, Nick Fuentes and the other Nazis that he met with, and how he praised them and how he refused to condemn David Duke, the Nazi. We haven't forgotten that either, okay? Biden and Trump are both anti-Semites. But for the sake of Israel, Trump is less dangerous than Biden. Biden is much more dangerous, and so we must defeat Joe Biden. This is more a campaign against Biden than for Trump. But Trump is his opponent, so we have to support Trump. We would have, of course, we would have loved to be able to support Ron DeSantis. That's who we supported. Ron DeSantis is a genuine friend of Israel, just as Ted Cruz was a genuine friend of Israel when he ran for president. But again, because of the dynamics of American politics, and because evangelical Christians are maybe 40% of all Republicans, maybe around 40% of all Republicans are evangelical Christians who generally support Israel. Most of them support Israel. Because of that situation, Trump will have a counter pressure on him where he'll be under pressure not to go as far as Biden. Biden is going all out against Israel now. Okay, he's demanding that Israel create an independent Palestinian terrorist state immediately after the war. He's trying to prevent Israel from winning the war and is preventing Israel from winning the war. He's doing everything he can to undermine and hurt Israel. It's really Blinken, of course, is the one carrying out the policies, the evil Blinken. Biden himself doesn't know how to do any of these things. Biden himself doesn't know how to go to the bathroom anymore. He has adult diapers on. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to do. You see him on the stage. He doesn't even know where to go on the stage. He's confused when he's finished reading something on the stage. He's confused. He doesn't know where to go. I mean, Biden is not really in charge of the policies. Blinken is doing it, but still, but Biden, by the way, even when he was younger, was anti-Israel and a typical Democrat anti-Semite. Biden's entire constituency is anti-Semitic and anti-Israel, and he himself is anti-Semitic and anti-Israel. So even the Jews in the Democrat Party are anti-Israel and self-hating Jews who are embarrassed by Israel and literally want to hurt Israel. The self-hating Jews like Schmuck Schumer, they actually want to hurt Israel. So, in fact, some of the letters that were sent to Biden urging him to take a tougher stand, they were signed by Jewish congressmen, urging him to take a tougher stand against Israel. So, if Biden is reelected and doesn't have to face an election anymore, you can imagine what his policies will be toward Israel. And he's already engaging in policies that literally threaten Israel's very survival. We have to act against Joe Biden now. We have to defeat him. Now, having said that, the question arises, what, J.T.F. is going to defeat Joe Biden and Donald Trump and elect Donald Trump? Come on, how can you possibly do that? Well, it's true that first of all, we're not going to spend money on the campaign. All of our money, as you know, goes only to the Hilltop Youth. All of our money goes to the heroic Hilltop Youth. That's where Jewish money should be going now. And that's where the money of righteous Gentiles who support Israel and who love Israel should be going, to the Hilltop Youth. And J.T.F. is the only organization supporting them. So we're not going to be spending money on it, but we are going to be doing videos and we're going to have an aggressive internet campaign against Biden and urging people to vote for Trump. And that aggressive internet campaign can have an effect if it's a very close election. If it's a very close election, you never know. Remember, George Bush in the year 2000 defeated Al Gore by only a few hundred votes in Florida. I don't remember how many, but it was just a few.
537.
537 votes. If a few hundred voters had changed their mind and voted for Gore instead, Gore would have been president. So those things happen in American politics. And we've had other elections, 1960, the election between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon, which John F. Kennedy stole, by the way. He stole that election. But still, it was an extremely close election. And there have been other elections that were extremely close, where a swing in other cases of tens of thousands of voters in particular electoral college states with a lot of electoral votes, swings of just tens of thousands of voters could have changed the results of elections. There have been several presidential elections like that in this century. So there's a real possibility, and according to the polls, it is going to be a close race. And you better believe that the news media, the left-wing news media, is going after Trump ferociously. And his legal cases, which helped him in the Republican primary among Republican voters, are not going to help him among voters in general. They hurt him among voters in general. Voters in general do not like Trump's legal situation They believe he's guilty. They believe he should pay a price. They believe he should be convicted. And most voters, according to the polls, think he should go to prison for the things that he's being accused of. So if he gets convicted, all bets are off. And all the proceedings we see and all the rulings against him, this is going to continue right until November, this is going to hurt him. So he's going to have a rough time getting elected in a situation like that. And Biden is going to use all the advantages. He's going to use all the advantages of the presidency, of what we call incumbency, being a president. He's going to use all of that to get votes. So this is going to be a very difficult situation. Not only that, there is a possibility, God forbid, but there is a possibility that Biden will either die or not that I care if he dies. I don't care if he dies. He's an evil beast. He should burn in hell forever. I don't care if he drops dead, that filthy pig. But if he dies, but I don't want him to die for one reason, because then Kamala Harris becomes president, God forbid. And she, by the way, would be worse than Biden because she's more electable, because she's a retarded cackling hyena, but still she because she's not completely senile, believe it or not, she would have a chance of actually getting elected. Or if Michelle Obama stepped in, or one of these other creatures stepped in to take Biden's place, that would be a catastrophe. A catastrophe. We want Biden. We have to pray for Biden to remain president and remain as healthy as possible until November. Even after November, if God forbid, if he wins, we don't want Kamala Harris to take over with a self-hating Jewish husband. So even though we hate Biden and we wish him all the worst, we despise him and wish him all the worst, it happens to be, in this situation, it would be bad for America and for Israel if something happened to him, because then we get a younger, healthier president, and that's a catastrophe, pursuing all of these terrible policies, and that's a catastrophe for us. We want the weak Biden. Biden is probably the only Democrat that Trump can beat, because 70% of Americans don't like Trump. So Biden is the only one that Trump can defeat. So we better hope that Biden stays healthy until November. Anyway, after November, if Trump defeats him, he can drop dead, that filthy pig. May the name of the wicked be eviscerated, and may the name of the wicked rot. Anyway, so the bottom line is we got to support Trump, and we have to begin an active campaign to support Trump. And that means that we're not only going to do it on the issue of Israel, we're going to be speaking about other issues as well. It truly is astonishing that the election is even close. Now, I don't think Trump was a good president for America either. I don't think he didn't build a wall. He added to the national debt. He did a lot of terrible things as president, and he only cared about himself. He was obsessed with his own little tweets, and 3 o'clock in the morning doing tweets. Now, insanity what took place there. But comparing him to Biden, how can you compare him even to what Biden is doing? Biden allowed over 7 million illegal aliens to flood into the country across the border during his presidency. Over 7 million illegal aliens. That type of situation did not occur under Trump. Biden also, Trump also, we had a problem with illegal aliens, but it was a much smaller number than that. It wasn't 7 million. Under Biden, we're committing suicide much faster.
They're coming in at a rate in December, 10,000 or more per day.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable because and the reason, and by the way, the reason why you have this situation, Ron DeSantis was the only one who put his finger on the issue. How are they able to come in and not immediately be arrested and thrown back or deported? How is this possible? The answer is because of the asylum laws. They want to claim asylum. They claim political asylum as if they're fleeing political persecution. Not fleeing any political persecution. They're fleeing the fact that they come from countries that are failures, that are failing countries that can't produce jobs and can't produce a decent economy because all the people in those countries are uneducated, lazy bums. And they're going to make America a nation of uneducated, lazy bums. And they're already doing it. They will destroy the United States of America if this continues. America is at a tipping point. If this doesn't stop very quickly, the United States is going down very fast. 160,000 illegal aliens just in New York under Biden. 160,000 illegal aliens in New York under Biden, in addition to all the other problems New York has.
Where are they getting the money to feed these people? Because they're feeding them, they're clothing them, they're housing them. Where is this money coming from? They can't print money like a federal government can.
They're absolutely ripping off and destroying the taxpayers, the people who pay taxes in New York City. New York City has the highest taxes in the country. That's where the money's coming from. And the same thing is happening in Chicago and in California and all these other places. Florida and Texas, they don't want them. They're shipping them out. And they're making it clear they're not welcome there. So a lot of them voluntarily leaving because they know they're not welcome there. Which is, of course, the proper thing to do. If you had if we really had a president like Ron DeSantis or Ted Cruz who would impose that type of policy, much fewer would want to come here. Much fewer, and many of them who are here would voluntarily want to leave. Aside from the fact that Cruz and DeSantis had a plan to have mass deportations. Aside from that, many of them would voluntarily want to leave because they know they're not welcome and they're not going to get the benefits.
If I was the president, they wouldn't just want to voluntarily leave. They'd be rushing for the exits.
Absolutely. And absolutely. But anyway, that's not going to happen under Trump or under Biden. We know it's not going to happen under Trump because he already was president for 4 years and he didn't do that. Although he claims he's going to have mass deportations now, I don't believe him. Okay, I don't believe him. When I see it, I'll believe it. He didn't do it. He promised, by the way, in 2016 he was going to do that. He didn't do it. So I don't believe Trump. I don't believe what he says. But I do know that it's not anywhere near the proportions and the catastrophe that we have under Biden. Under Biden, the country is going under, literally going under, very, very fast. I mean, you go to places in New York City. I see neighborhoods that were once pretty decent, safe neighborhoods, Jewish and Chinese neighborhoods. We had, where decent, hardworking people live and work. So we're clean, decent neighborhoods in New York City. And these neighborhoods now are being overwhelmed by illegal aliens. The whole city is being flooded by illegal aliens. You go to Manhattan, you can't walk the streets. It's all illegal aliens sitting on the street, parking on the, living on the streets. I mean, it's just unbelievable. In the wintertime, they can't survive outside. So New York City has to take over hotels. And you know what hotel rates are in New York City and Manhattan? That they'll take over hotels at taxpayer expense to put the illegal aliens in hotels and feed them and give them all these other benefits. I mean, and of course, if you're going to do this, of course they're going to come here. You think it's better in their third world rat hole countries than in the United States? You're kidding me? Now, Trump has some advantages that other Republicans didn't have. For instance, the latest poll, a couple of latest polls show the majority of Latinos are voting for Trump. Latinos, who traditionally vote Democrat overwhelmingly, are voting for Trump. Majority, because they remember the economy under Trump was better than it is under Biden. And even some blacks, you have black voters, especially young black males, are voting. Some of them are voting for Trump or not voting at all or apathetic. Biden has a real problem getting out a black vote, and you need to get the black vote out if you're a Democrat, if you want to win. You've got to do that. One of the reasons Obama won twice is because he had huge black turnout. The black turnout was actually much higher than the white turnout when Obama ran in 2008 and in 2012. So and when Hillary Clinton ran, black turnout was low. They weren't enthusiastic about her either. And that's one of the reasons why she lost. With Biden, again, black turnout was high. When Biden ran against Trump 4 years ago, it was 4 years ago in 2020, again, black turnout was high. But blacks are not happy but I don't think anybody's happy with Biden. Is anybody happy? Is anybody enthusiastic about Joe Biden's administration? I don't think anybody's happy with him. How could you be happy with him? What is there to be happy about? And so we're going to be working on all of this. We're going to do everything we can. We may even pursue some clever strategies. We may try to help candidates like Cornel West. Cornel West is a Black affirmative action, anti-Semitic, anti-white professor who is running independently for president and taking Black votes away from Biden. We may help Cornel West. We may try to publicize. In fact, I might challenge him to a debate. I might challenge him to a debate. I think it'd be an interesting debate. And so, and it would help both sides. It would help because it could help Trump, because I'll be debating on behalf of Trump and against Biden. And he'll be debating and he'll be furthering his cause with the left, which takes votes away from Biden. So we may try all types of clever little things to cause Biden trouble. But let Joe Biden and the Democrats know, and let the Republicans know as well. We're putting them on notice. You touch the hilltop youth, we go to war with you politically. Anyone goes against the hilltop youth, that's it. We'll do everything we can to defeat you. And when we act to defeat somebody, we do it cleverly. Okay? So we'll do everything we can to defeat you if you touch the hilltop youth. Because they're our heroes. And they're our hope for saving the land of Israel from national suicide. So you do anything to hilltop youth, we're going to go after you politically, and you will pay a price politically, because we do know how to move votes and change voters. And we'll go into, we will concentrate on the key battleground states where there's a close election and where the election will be decided. In other words, in the areas where you don't want us to get involved, we'll get involved. So that's what we're planning to do, God willing. In the meantime, we've got to support the hilltop youth. You know, they're freezing their bank accounts. All of these Jews have large families. You know, the hilltop youth have a lot of babies. Baruch Hashem, thank God. And so, you know, now they have no income, and they can't have bank accounts and can't have credit cards and can't have anything. Everything's been cut off because all these Israeli companies are obeying Joe Biden's orders. Israeli companies are obeying the orders of a president of a foreign country. Can you imagine what an obscenity this is? And so, and we have a campaign in Israel also against this. Of course, you know, our movement in Israel is much bigger than our movement in the United States. We have a campaign against this in Israel. But in the meantime, here in the United States, it's essential that we send support to the funds that assist the families, the women and the children of these guys who are on these lists. We have to be a force that fights to help Jews on the hilltop communities that are in trouble, because they're putting their lives on the line, they and their families, to save Israel and the Jewish people. We've got to be there for them. If the Jewish people want to survive, if the Jewish people have half a brain, most American Jews don't. But if the Jewish people have half a brain, they'll know, any Jew with half a brain would know how essential it is that we support them. And so we're going to give you a chance to support. You have a chance to support them by supporting J.T.F, because all of our budget goes to them to help the hilltop youth. If you want to help the hilltop youth, you just go to our Hebrew main page, hayamin.org. Okay? Hayamin.org, and on top you'll see a donate button in English, and in several minutes you can easily and conveniently donate. Hayamin.org. If you don't want to do it online, if you want to do it through if you prefer to do it through the regular mail, you just send a check or money order made out to J.T.F, and you send it to J.T.F. P.O. Box 650327, Fresh Meadows, New York 11365. You see JTF.org on your screen. JTF.org is where you go if you want that information, how to find that address. You know, aside from me telling it to you verbally here, if you want to find all that, you just look at JTF.org under Contact Us on top. You'll see on Contact Us, and you'll be able to easily access that information, and you'll be able to do something really good for Israel. Jews and righteous Gentiles who love Israel. You'll be able to do something really good for Israel, and all of us should be in on this. All of us should be doing this to help the heroic hilltop youth. So let's see what we can do to defeat Joe Biden, elect Donald Trump, and send a message to all politicians, Democrat and Republican. Don't touch the Hilltop Youth, and don't try to get Israel to commit suicide. David?
Well, I didn't get through this without coughing, I hope. I still cough a little at night and just a little in the morning. Every once in a while, you may see me jerk my head and look out the window here. Unlike where I used to live in New York City, we don't have crows here. We have ravens. Ravens, as most of you probably know, are the largest birds in the crow family. They're almost as big as red-tailed hawks. And sometimes they land on the roof and you hear bang, 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 bang as they're running back and forth. And that's why you may see me jerk my head and look up, because I'm wondering where that noise is coming from. For those of you who don't know, the tower in London has ravens. And the superstition is that the monarchy will last as long as the tower has ravens. So the people that care for the tower cheat a little. They snip the wings on the ravens, but it's believed that the monarchy will last as long as the ravens are there. And they are big birds. Going down Park Avenue the wrong way. A fine New York City citizen, not an illegal alien, but she was smoking weed, driving the wrong way down the street, and a cop is yelling at her, so she hits the cop. And then she goes bragging about it. She thought it was really funny that she hit the police officer. Well, they did arrest her, and hopefully they didn't let her go like they did with 5 illegal aliens. And I know the Democrats hate when you use the term illegal alien. But what do you think they are? They're here illegally, and they're not U.S. citizens, so they're aliens. They're illegal aliens. They beat up a New York City police officer. They were arrested. And because of the no bail policy in New York City, they were let go immediately. And they fled out of the state on their way to California. I think they were picked up in Phoenix, Arizona. So they'll probably bring them back to New York where they'll be let go again. And we can play this charade out over and over again.
That's Bragg, by the way, the DA in Manhattan who let them go.
Yeah.
And he's the same one has this fake prosecution of Donald Trump. By the way, in that case, Donald Trump, it's a completely fake prosecution that he's doing against Donald Trump, that nobody gets prosecuted for, just ridiculous prosecution that he's doing against Trump. Anyway, go ahead.
A veteran who was very Christian tore down a statue of Satan in an Iowa courtroom. And he's being charged with a hate crime. Because in this country, you don't touch evil. Evil rules here. Good is yesterday's news. Now, here's something that's really scary. I hope you can project where this is going. AI, artificial intelligence, is making robocalls in the places where there's Republican primaries, and it's the voice of Joe Biden telling voters not to vote. So take this and extrapolate it where it's going to end up. AI could be really dangerous. Back in the 30s, Orson Welles did a broadcast of War of the Worlds, and people thought it was real. They ran into the streets in terror. Some buried themselves in their cellars because they thought we were being invaded by foreign aliens. And that was just a radio broadcast. Imagine artificial intelligence, which can duplicate any voice. I've seen people sing, but they're singing, but it's Elvis Presley's voice that's coming out of their mouth. And they're not lip syncing. The timing is perfect because a computer program is changing their voice to Elvis Presley. Here you had the voice changed to Joe Biden. So where is this going to take us in the future? This could be really dangerous. Texas put up razor wire, which I thought should be at the top of the wall, and 3 rows of it at the foot of the wall. So if they get over it and they drop down, they'll fall into the razor wire. And Joe Biden is having kittens over this. He's saying that Of course, he's being told what to say, but he's saying that immigration is under the jurisdiction of the federal government. The states have no right. Well, the states are arguing back that they're being invaded and they have a right to defend themselves. And the federal government is supposed to come to their aid because the federal government is supposed to provide a common defense for all the states. So I salute Texas for that and keep it up. And they said 3 people drowned. Well, if they didn't try to sneak into our country, if they didn't try to disrespect our laws, if they didn't try to ignore what was right, they'd still be alive. And since we have a common defense, our wonderful president is taking 20 National Guardsmen from Alaska and sending them down to Texas to do what? I don't know, to aid border agents. But is there going to be a standoff between Texas National Guard and Alaska National Guard? If there's ever a split in this country in a civil war, Alaska is isolated. And you can't grow much there because it's ice a good part of the year and it's freezing cold. They could go with the blue states if this country ever comes apart because they're in a predicament. Just like some states in the lower 48 are landlocked. You have states near the Mississippi, so they could get things in and out down the Mississippi down into New Orleans. But you have states that are completely landlocked, like the one I live in. We're 100% landlocked. A lot of our lakes are man-made lakes. So Biden is going to sanction Texas. He may send the National Guard down there. That would be an interesting standoff. I wonder how many Americans would go there to join Texas. Probably none, especially with the Super Bowl coming up, which is far more important than your country. So ignore what's going on around the country and just get ready for the Super Bowl. I don't even know. Is it this Sunday? Is it next Sunday? I don't follow football. Watching a bunch of oversized gorillas knock each other down is not my idea of entertainment. Actually, I watch the sport I play, table tennis, which I told you many times. And I have one last story. I got a pamphlet from Rand Paul, who besides being a senator is also a doctor. And I saw an interview with a guy named Brett Weinstein and Tucker Carlson. Interviewing Brett Weinstein. And it all relates to the COVID virus. So I'm going to give you a synopsis. I'm not going to do part 1 and part 2. But it was they had the vaccine long before there was a COVID. They had this vaccine to fight any virus, but you have to have the genome code to add to the vaccine to make it work. It has to be specific for that particular virus. So that's why the vaccine was ready 2 hours after they got the genome code. It was tested. The testing didn't work well. The animals, cats and monkeys, all died. But that's not unusual. This happened before. This is a story you don't know. Around 1900, they came out with a margarine called Oleo, and it was used to fatten up turkeys for Thanksgiving, except it was killing the turkeys. So, not to let all that research and all that product go to waste, they decided to give it to humans. And of course, humans are not like animals. We have enzymes, the animals don't. But they didn't know this back then. They gave it to humans and let's see what happens. So doing something not exactly above board, not exactly safe, is not something new. Also, it originally came out that the virus did not come from bats and jump to people. It came from the Wuhan lab, and Anthony Fauci, Dr. Fauci, knew this. And he started claiming, no, it's an animal disease that jumped to humans. He knew this. And his counterpart in England, Jeremy Farrar, was saying, no, this came from the Wuhan lab. And somehow, I don't know, do we give aid to England or do we give aid to their medical research? He convinced Farrar that it came from animals to humans, not from a lab. And this became part of the government policy. And if you knew better, you were shouted down, you were ignored, you were actually totally discredited if you knew the truth. Well, the thing is with the virus and the injection was supposed to go into your shoulder muscle. And they were supposed to retract it a little and see if there's any blood, because if there's any blood, that meant it's in a vein. It's part of your circulatory system. But they said that would be so painful, so they just started injecting it. If it went into your shoulder muscle, you were okay. If it went into a vein, you were screwed. Some paid with their life, some weak hearts. A Black woman lost her hands and her feet, and she was a good Christian woman. She said it's God's will that this happened. I've seen people, young women, gorgeous women, with Bell's palsy because of the shot. So it's a very dangerous shot, but if you got it in the shoulder muscle, you got lucky. More than luck. It will say that the ones who got it in their circulatory system were the unlucky ones. And of course, their numbers are much fewer than those that got it in the shoulder muscle, because the person injecting you was trying to inject it in your shoulder muscle.
What injection are you talking? I don't understand. Which?
The COVID vaccine. It was supposed to go in your shoulder muscle. But if it went into your circulatory...
I disagree with everything you said just now. Okay? And my
this
mother
is coming from experts, though.
Yeah, experts. My mother, 1,000 times as many experts disagree with that. It's not true. These are
No,
not.
they never disagreed with. They said it's supposed to go in your shoulder muscle, and that's where they're supposed to inject it.
Oh,
but if they miss and it went into your circulatory system, you got into physical trouble.
Well, the only thing I know is when the COVID came out, and this is going to be, there's so much disinformation going on about this. When COVID first came out, 95% of the people who were dying and getting sick were people who were not vaccinated. It's the unvaccinated that kept this thing going. But anyway, then eventually that changed. Those statistics went down, of course, after time. But for the first year, 95% of the people that were dying and getting sick were people who are unvaccinated. And those are the true statistics are in every country, everywhere, people who are unvaccinated were the ones who were dying. But if everybody had gotten vaccinated, we could have killed this off. But anyway,
the current president of the table tennis club, he had to get a shot because he was a bus driver for the elderly, and he got a severe case of COVID. He was out for about 2 months. So, and that's a few months after he got the shot. So,
but most people who got it, the vast majority of people who got the shots did not get COVID. Whereas the percentage of people who didn't get the shots who got COVID is much, much, much higher, was much, much higher. But anyway,
this gets worse. COVID is only the beginning. They are still working at that lab in Wuhan. You've heard the term gain of function. I'll bet most of you don't even know what that means. Gain of function is when you take a virus, the attributes of one virus, and mix it with another virus to make it more potent, to mutate it so it's far more effective in killing, or to make it far more contagious. So that's what they were doing at the Wuhan. They took 2 viruses and came out with COVID-19. Now it escaped the lab, and it's funded by Fauci's group. That's why Fauci was busy defending himself the whole time. And not only was it COVID, they're working on an avian flu now, which if it does jump to humans, 15 to 50% of the victims of the flu will be killed off. It's a far more deadly flu, but as of now, it doesn't jump to humans. They're trying to, the lab is working on it so that it does jump to humans. And if you've ever seen Chinese quality control, when Chinese table tennis rubber came out, I bought it, I tried it. Japanese is synthetic for the most part, and Chinese is natural. When you put your racket down, when this first came out, and you go to pick it up, it's stuck to the table. You couldn't lift it up. So you got tremendous spin with it. So about 8 months later, it was worn out, so I ordered more. The next batch had no stickum at all because there's zero quality control. The first gym we joined here, I used to call it the dump because they had no air conditioning. They had a swamp cooler. But we went in the morning, so it wasn't too bad. It's a good thing they went out of business. One of the residents there did business in China, and he made little pipes, not smoking pipes, copper pipes. And they had to test the pipes. So they put it on the tester, and it didn't matter whether it passed or failed. They sent it on down the line. So when he took a trip to China, he saw that, and he questioned them. They said it was tested. So they didn't understand that if it failed the test, you don't pass it on down the line. And at the Wuhan lab, they're working on this avian flu. All you need is terrorists to get in there. Well, once again, their lack of quality control and this thing they're working on, this could escape into the public.
I'm certainly not defending communist China or what they did, and I do believe that this was created in the Wuhan lab. That I do believe. And I'm not defending Anthony Fauci. But without that, without the COVID, without that COVID injections, those COVID injections, hundreds of millions of people would have died. It would have been, and by the way, you had a much higher death rate in the 1920s when we had in 1920
Spanish flu from World War I.
Right, much higher death rate when we didn't have something to combat it, and we would have had that again. By the way, the death rate among the unvaccinated is much higher than the death rate among the vaccinated. And I know, and again, you have people who just put out statistics that are lies, that are pure lies. The reality is the unvaccinated have a much higher death rate. But anyway, okay, what's next?
Well, I didn't get the shot, and I had COVID twice, and here I am.
Well, you had it twice, though. I mean, it's a miracle that it's a miracle. I mean, I also had COVID, and my mother had COVID, but I had COVID before I got the second. You have to get the shot. You have to get the shot twice, if you recall.
Yeah, the first shot is like a preparatory shot.
Right. So I was in between the two shots when I got it, and the reason I got it is because I got it from someone who was unvaccinated, who didn't listen to me and who was unvaccinated. That's why I got it. But and my mother also got it because of that. And my poor mother passed away because of COVID. So it's a very emotional issue for me. There's no question that the death rate would have been far higher if we didn't have the vaccinations. But anyway, I mean, there are people that are just anti-science, that are just, saying things that are anti-science, and this is anti-science. But anyway, okay.
Just before, this is my last topic. Just before we did this show, I saw Ronna McDaniel, the president of the Republican National Committee, the chairman of the Republican National Committee, is going to be stepping down after the South Carolina primary. And I don't know how she won re-election. She was running against a woman born in India, but very conservative woman. I get some of her writings here. Her name is Harmeet Dillon, Dillon. And Ronna McDaniel, who since she's been the chairman of the RNC, the Republicans have done horrible at the polls. So I'm glad she's stepping down. The question is, are we going to get another Ronna McDaniel, or are they going to actually put a conservative in charge? I would love to see Harmeet Dillon She, even though she's born somewhere else in India, she is a true conservative. She saw what America could be and is not, and is failing rather rapidly. The Republicans are not. I forgot this. They wanted it. The Senate came up with a bill to secure the border. Part of that bill is $60 billion to Ukraine, $17 billion to Israel. But the part about securing the border would make it so that only, and the Republicans voted for this in the Senate, only 5,000 a day could come in. But if it was from non-contiguous countries, like say you were coming from Colombia or Venezuela or Panama, you're not counted in the 5,000. So, and the Republicans voted for this, and they started catching hell from their voters. And with an election coming up, they knew better. So the bill was put aside. But the Republicans voted for this. Aren't they supposed to be opposition to the Democrats?
The
We
Republicans,
have no opposition. We have no country.
the bill was defeated because of Donald Trump. Donald Trump.
Yeah, he said he didn't go for it.
That's one good thing Donald Trump did. He killed that bill. That's one good thing he did. He killed the bill.
But they're all up. The House was not going to, it wasn't even going to hit the floor because they're all up for election in November. Mm-hmm. But the Senate, staggered every 2 years. So 1/3 of the Senate is up for election.
They might have worked out a deal with that. Who knows, with these whores in the House? They're also a bunch of whores. Who knows? They might have worked out some sort of deal. Who knows what would have happened? I think if Trump had not intervened, I think it's possible the bill would have passed. I think it's possible.
Well, the Speaker of the House said it's not even going to hit the floor.
Because of Trump.
Right away. Because there was terrible feedback that the Republicans are spineless, which they are. They're cowards, which they are. They're sellouts, which they are. And they will always let you down, which they do. They're just a better dressed form of Democrat.
Yeah, but you saw the Republicans lost 2 votes this week in the House, even though they have a so-called majority. So you never know. I'm just saying, you never know what would happen. I think Trump on this issue. I think Trump deserves credit. I think he deserves credit for killing that bill. You might be right. It may be that it wouldn't have passed, but I think there was a chance because I don't trust those politicians in the House, and Trump did kill that bill, and that he deserves credit for.
So he gets 1 point on the good side. Remember, I said I'm going to take a list and check it twice. I'm going to find out if he's naughty or nice. Mm-hmm. So he gets 1 point on the good side.
Yep. It's the whole situation. Is there anything else you have on your list?
No, that's it.
Okay. Well, this is an important time. We're starting an important campaign. Get involved with us. We can make a difference. And, the fact that we don't like Trump but are supporting him anyway and urging people to vote for him, in many ways, that actually is very helpful to him. Why? Because there are other people out there in the same situation. There are other people out there that don't like Biden and don't like Trump, don't like either one. So we can address them with credibility because I am at least in that same situation. So, I can speak to them with some credibility about that and convince them that, look, you may not like Biden or Trump, and I agree that both of them are problematic, but Biden is worse. He definitely is worse. We have to support Donald Trump, and it will make a big difference. In your heart, we're right, and in your guts, they're nuts. For J.T.F. until next week, and for David Ben Moshe, Shalom.